The topic of data privacy and protecting your information online was addressed recently at Brock University. Amongst those on hand for the discussion was Andrew Hilts. Hilts maintains that online users need to know and exercise their digital rights.
We are at a point in time where more and more data about ourselves and who we talk to and what our preferences are and where we go is being collected and stored in ways that most of us don't even understand or have time to even really wrap our heads around. And I think it's important that if this is the direction we're going in, that we try to pursue change in how companies behave and how the government and other sort of regulatory bodies can make sure that our rights are being protected. And we have to do research to figure out in this new technical era how can we best protect our cherished rights like freedom of speech.
Another issue to monitor is how Facebook and other sites are playing a role in reinforcing our current opinions.
Because they're showing you things you want to see, so you'll be more likely to click on ads, they also show you things that you're more likely to politically agree with. And so what happens is we find ourselves in these filter bubbles where we see views we already agree with taken to the extreme, and we don't get as exposed as we might like to competing views that could challenge us. And I think that's really fundamental for democracy. So I do think that it is important for companies like Facebook and Twitter to really consider how they structure interactions, how that affects our way to engage in healthy public debate and discussion.
Natasha Tusikov is an adjunct professor at Brock. She says that governments have essentially stepped aside to let private companies provide the framework for our online experience.
They very quietly negotiated these agreements because they didn't want consumer advocacy groups and public groups involved in protesting them. But now that they are in place, these companies refer to them as voluntary agreements, and they actually do publish them and publicize them, but they don't say that these agreements really, in some cases, replace law or have very little oversight or accountability mechanisms, and that's really the problem.
Do some of these issues change from country to country, or are they universal?
The idea that governments want more control online is pretty universal. Governments want more control in terms of content, whether that's political extremism, whether that's child pornography, illegal gambling. The issue itself may vary from country to country. Some countries are more concerned, for example, about abortion or democratic free speech than others. But the idea that governments want more control, and these companies are best placed to give them that control, that's pretty standard.
Advice for the consumer?
I would read the fine print, know what you're agreeing to. I know that's a big task, but at least have some idea what data you give up to these companies.
If you are curious about what companies know about you and who they are sharing that information with, you may want to visit accessmyinfo.org and request your files. In Niagara, you're watching The Source.